This is the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast, episode 420.
I program my home computer.
We have a server crash, 404 error, page not found, links aren't working, system is crashing, system is crashing, system is crashing.
Your old HTML website, barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website, better than it was before. Better, stronger, faster. We have the technology.
Why, hello, everybody. This is Adam Silver, the host of the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, upcoming events. There are none. So moving right along. Segment 1 in the news. A few things to talk about here. First and foremost, just released last week was LifterLMS 6.0. Lifter is an amazing learning management system. I know the team who built it. I'm fans of them. They're friends of mine. And actually, I'm going to dive back in a few weeks to talk about it. I'm going to do a review on it. And I might actually bring Chris Badgett, who is a co-founder of that company over there, on as well. I've talked about it, but it's been a long time, so it's due for another review and to see what's going on. So anyway, so LifterLMS 6.0, the link in the show notes if you want to read all about it. So check that out. Also in the news, WPExperts acquired password protected plugin. It's called Password Protected. So WPExperts acquired Password Protected. It's a plugin from developer Ben Hewson. Anyway, so that's cool. So we could start the clock over again there as far as acquisitions. And lastly, in the news, a patch stack put out a white paper, State of the WordPress Security World. It's a PDF. I have a link to it in the show notes. It's kind of crazy if you go through this. It's a deep. It's pretty deep as far as what they found in the introductions and stuff. I mean, just the study, really cool. So you definitely want to check that out as well. If you are running any type of sites for clients or yourself, security is important, as we know. So, I mean, just last week, FYI, one of our clients had a site that had some malware injected into it somehow. So a fake plugin to start logging things on a good managed host. We don't know how that happened. I'm guessing a weak username and password, or a plugin that wasn't updated. So it's been taken care of. It's all fixed, and we rolled back. Not a problem, but still, it still happens, even on really good, expensive hosting. It can happen. So check out that patch stack article as well. All right, moving on. Segment 2, meat and potatoes, this week's episode. Continuing the series I've been doing, researching plugins for forums, a forum plugin for an idea I have. This month's review is discussing a forum plugin called wpForo. That's wpForo. And so here we go. Went ahead and did a cleanish installation of WordPress on my staging server. I say cleanish because it kind of came up and kind of bit me in the butt. You'll see in a second here. I cleaned everything up for the most part. I installed the plugin via the repo. I activated it, and right away, a custom post type pops up on the left side of the admin page, showing the word forums. And hovering over that area, the main level, we see a ton of drop downs: dashboard, forums, settings, tools, moderation, members, user groups, phrases, themes, and add-ons. And I dove in to a whole bunch of this to talk about right now. Spent quite a few hours actually, because I'm trying to really investigate this idea I have. So starting with the main dashboard, there's a welcome screen, some general information, the forums board statistics, like how many forums, topics, posts, members, some server info, and forum maintenance tasks can be done from this first little area. Jumping down to the forum settings, we see a bunch of more tabs and settings that look to be fairly standard options: general, access, topics, members, emails, and features. And then digging into those settings, I jumped into members and was happy to see something new that I didn't see in the last plugin I reviewed. That was member rating levels. So it's kind of like a gamification, I guess. The more you post and share and answer questions, the higher level you get, from a new member up to illustrious level 10 after 5,000 posts. And of course, all those levels are up to you to adjust and or rename, or even use if you want to use it all. So lastly, in a little area where it's an API section for social networks, where you can kind of use Facebook login to let people log into the forum page as well. That way it just ties together, makes it a little easier for people to kind of bounce back and forth between different sites and websites, etc. So now on to setting up a forum itself. And to test it and see how it looks and functions, I changed the default forum name to JetBlue. In this case, it's my test. I changed the permissions, easy enough. I added some subcategories for sale, things for sale, and then also like different addresses for crash pads. And I want to see how it was implemented. So I went to the page listings. I see how many pages I have. And I didn't see any pages that were pre-created, pre-built, as some custom post types and plugins do, like for forums or etc. So I noticed, though, that the menu was still showing from my previous test in the heading, the navigation, it said something. So I went to the menu area, and in the menu area settings were a whole bunch of shortcodes. So I decided, I'm like, oh, so I can use a shortcode, and I'm not sure if I knew this or not. So today I learned, maybe I remember or didn't remember, you can use a shortcode as a custom link. Anyway, so then I visited the site incognito, and I can see the forums page in the navigation. And I click on it, and what comes up is a welcome page. It's a login page. It says welcome to the forum, pretty much, and log in or create a new account. So I created a new account, all good there. I logged in. I created a new topic. I added content. Again, nothing here out of the ordinary from a functionality perspective, how a forum should work. All worked well. What I didn't see, and I dove into this for a while, I didn't see a way to limit certain people from secondary forums. Like if I want to have a forum for JetBlue and a forum for Delta and a forum for American, I couldn't see have a user only have access to one easily, if you will. Or the last one I did a review on last month, this was much easier. So I have Delvis, my dog, working inside the JetBlue area. I could then go and create Delta's forum and their sub areas and lock it out. But I couldn't do it via the user. It was via user groups. So I looked into the user group settings, looked at the documentation, just wasn't apparent to figure out where to do exactly what I wanted. And I think it's doable, but I just couldn't find it. So that was kind of a deal breaker for me, just because it's not that easy and I want things to be easy. So I did like the drag and drop component of setting up forums and the sub categories as well. That was kind of nice. But, little things like that make a difference. If you're going to build out a big site, you want it to be easily replicatable. And I just didn't see it how a user could have multiple how the different forums could be assigned to the user versus a group, if that made sense. Anyway, so yeah, didn't love that. And I spent a long time looking at that. Like I probably spent a solid hour just digging into it. I just didn't see it. But nonetheless, looking at their main site, I think I figured out something here. The last thing on this was, it looks like they have paid add-ons, about 15 of them, and user custom fields might solve that issue, because that way the user has a custom field where you could actually add a secondary category, versus just approved user and then maybe company, if you would. That might actually solve the problem, but I'm not about to pay to test it right now. So overall, wpForo has a lot going for it, a lot of settings and a lot of control, maybe too many, I don't know. And for my idea and my needs, I'm not sure it's the right fit. I'm still looking, still testing. I have another half a dozen to go easily for the rest of the year, one a month for the rest of the year, unless I find one that I just love. So far, the other one I like a little bit better from last month. What was that one called? That was Ascaros, I believe. So that was pretty cool. Anyway, check it out if you want. It's, like I said, a lot of settings. There's just a lot going on there. I like the whole aspect of levels of involvement and engagement, which is kind of neat. But other than that, I don't know. It works, but it didn't tickle my fancy, as they say. I don't know who they are, but they are. All right, that's it for this episode there. Segment 3, tip and tool of the week. This week's tip is a podcast. So if you're looking for a new podcast to take a listen to, I recommend the Technically Creative Podcast. It's hosted by Michael Heredia and Sartak Raina, R-A-I-N-A, Raina. FYI, full disclosure, I know Michael. He's a friend of mine from a group here in town that I work out with. They're doing this new podcast. They're up to episode 12 or 13. I'm like halfway through. I'm kind of binging through them. It's a good show. It's about, different things tech. They just did a long episode about Notion. I haven't gotten there yet, but I saw it in my queue. But check it out. I just want to support other podcasters as well. So I'll be sharing some more podcasting references as well. So check out the Technically Creative Podcast, and I'll put a link to it in the show notes. So that is it for this week's episode. Let me wrap it up here. If you have any questions, go ahead, send it in via email, adam@kitchensinkwp.com. or use the SpeakPipe function on the website. You can support the show, become a Patreon. I would love that. You can also sponsor the show. There's a form on the website for that as well. So, that'd be great. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Now go out and do some awesome things with WordPress. All right, bye-bye.